Right folks, it's me again, AncientSwan, and I only have about 3 seconds to waste, and that was them. Right now. Done. So no more time to waste, and let's begin. This wee video is made with the craftiest of fingers to inform your beautiful faces that as of the release of the Bridges and Ports DLC, the map editor sees its biggest update since the dawn of man. And I don't think that's an overstatement. I know overstatements, and that wasn't one of them, and there's so many changes it's going to take me quite literally about 18 minutes and 21 seconds to explain them to you. So what are the changes? How has the map editor been upgraded? Well, probably the biggest difference is to the water. It manages to combine the beautiful sweet spot of making things easier whilst making other things more confusing. What's easier? Firstly, you'll notice the multiple water sources of the olden days has been drastically reduced to just 2 sources. The magical new sea source and the not quite to be trusted constant level water source. No more having to place sea sources because nowadays, in the modern times, that's all just automatic. Sea level is now decided by this wee slider that slides. It slides right and it slides left because if it didn't, then it wouldn't be a slider. It would just be an annoying line on your screen, but this line slides, and with it we can see the water rise and fall, as well as the magic line which tells us how high the waters will rise when I let the flood unleash on the earth. It's much faster too. When I unpause this game, the water is going to flood in much faster than the before times, when waiting was an Olympic sport, and entire meals were planned, cooked and eaten before the water got to where it was going. But in the now times, that water is going to rush right in. This is a marked improvement in the direction of many benefits to my all-round general mental health and diet. And look, within barely a few seconds, our water is pretty much filled already. Thank God for that. And now, if you do feel like messing around with it a bit, there's also the Apply Sea Level button to immediately put water where it should be. Absolute magic as far as I'm concerned. So how about those other water sources from before? They are all gone. Border river source, border sea source, border river source again, and the constant rate, holy shit, I've drowned the city source, are all gone. They are no longer needed. Border sea is now replaced by that lovely slider we've just seen, and where in the past the border river source and constant rate were often used to push the water in one direction, they are also no longer needed, since water flow direction is also now handled very easily by another magic slider. Up in the new water menu, click Water Material Configuration, which is a word combination I'd have expected to hear in Star Trek, but here we are, in Cities Skylines. Click it, and into the drop-down menu. You'll see Sea Flow Direction as the first option. Slide it left and right to change the direction of flowing water. The next option down does exactly as it says on the label. Play with that to get the water flow strength that you like. It's gorgeous, isn't it? Look at it flow. There are lots of other new options to play with and be confused by in this menu too. Most are pretty self-explanatory though, and do exactly what they say they will. No prizes for guessing that the foam amount slider changes the amount of foam in your water. As well as this, the foam start and distance sliders below allow you to go into more precise detail. And how about the ripples? Do you want lots, or just some? Or the waves? Do you like bloody massive and terrifying? Or do you prefer wee waves that won't give sailors heart attacks? And then there's one of my favorites for giving more natural-looking coastlines is this next slider, the absorption distance slider, allows the light to better shine under the water, so you get that beautiful turquoise blue of terrain underwater, but not too deep. As someone who makes too many maps, I found it annoyingly difficult to get this kind of coastline look more natural in the older map editor, but now with this new slider it's a piece of piss. And if you don't speak fluent British, then let me inform you that piece of piss is an eloquent phrase, meaning that something is very, very easy. So there we go. Now, who says we never learn things with AncientSwan? You can even change the colors of your water if you're so inclined. Be careful though, there still isn't any back button in this editor, so if you do f it up, there may be no going back. I myself have already bollocksed up more than one map and had to start again after turning my water into something resembling hell itself. Although it does make me want to make a Mars map. In fact, I've definitely decided I will be doing that one day. So keep your eyes peeled, or whatever it is you do to make sure you don't miss something. At the bottom, we've got the caustic sliders, which, really helps you fine-tune just how much of that underwater terrain you want to see. For the last slider, called Wave Minimum Depth, I usually just leave that the hell alone. And honestly, that's the trick to making sure your little Sims don't end up drowning on their way to the local shops. So anyway, that's all the new things we can do with the wet stuff. But what about the old stuff that's still hanging around from the before times? Well, the one thing that's left is our old friend, the constant level water source. Same as before, it's mostly used to fill lakes. But these are now much quicker and easier to fill than previously. By coming down to the right angle, almost side-on with the source, we can click that brighter colored outline, then just click and drag to change the maximum level of this source. Before, we were counting the terrain's contour lines and typing in the height, but now it's all done again with a magic slider. And in the top-down view, we can now much more easily change the size of a source to better fit any lake or river. And also, while I'm here on the subject of lakes, let's talk about the water source's height rules, which have now changed. So, for example, if you had a lake high up in the hills above sea level, in the past, when placing your constant level source, you'd put the maximum height of your source at a number above the map's bottom sea level. Handy picture explainer coming right up. So, for instance, if your sea level is 40 and the bottom of your wee lake is another 120 meters up and it's 40 meters deep, then the source you'd have for that lake would have to be 180 meters high, because the old source would count the height difference from your lake to the sea. This was very annoying before because you'd end up counting contour lines again, all the way up from the beach. But in the new editor, a constant source for a lake is measured instead by its own lake's depth. So if the mountain lake in question is only 40 meters deep, then your constant source should also be set at 40 meters. And there's no need to be counting crazy contour lines to figure out how much water to drop into a lake. Another new and useful aspect is that we can now name our water sources. Useful if you have tons of them and can't remember which is which, you can now name them to suit the map, making them easier to find later if you need to. The constant level source that we keep also replaces the constant rate source that we used to use for rivers down hillsides. Nowadays, if you want to have a hillside stream, then we do the exact same as before. Draw it as necessary, use a constant level source, and adjust the source's height and size as necessary to stop downstream from flooding. One massive change from the previous editor is that we can now place water sources outside of the playable area. Again, this is mostly aesthetics, but it does make a big difference. Especially for those maps where a river's water would just magically disappear at the edge of the map, and we'd see just a dry riverbed meander off into the distance. I absolutely bloody hated that disappearing water look, or the ugly deep as shit canyons that would appear at some map edges just to have water be visible in the world map. Well, we can now get 3 magic colors of constant level source, those being blue for sources which are entirely within the playable area, or yellow for a source on the border of the playable area, or pink for a source that is completely outside of the buildable map. And all 3 of these sources can now spout water. Useful for taking one of those disappearing ugly riverbeds at the edge of the map and filling it with water to make it all look more natural. Note that to make this work, you will need to make sure you have ticked the box to simulate backdrop water in our new water menu. Simulating backdrop water also helps with annoying border lakes like this one. In the olden times, the lake water would have stopped at the edge of the map, like it does here, but now with the box ticked, we can get rid of those annoying ugly bits and fill the lake properly. So that's nice, isn't it? Now your lakes and rivers won't look so shit at the edge of the map. When the game launched all those moons ago, and I saw these disappearing rivers at the edge of the map, that is one of those things that on launch day for the game made me think, oh shit, this thing isn't ready yet. So to have that fixed and out of the way is a big improvement as far as I'm concerned. It's worth noting though that for the pink sources out in the world map, they will dry up quickly, so you may have to place more than one if you'd like the river water to keep flowing all the way to sea. Anything else to mention about the water? Any other improvements? And the answer to that is also yes. Waterfalls are also much more possible than before. The previous water flow was very glitchy, and the water would often just disappear. Nobody knows where it went, fell into some nether region of time and space in some universe somewhere. Nobody knows. Anyway, the disappearing falling water is also much better. We can see here now, though, that the falling water is still visible, so maps with pretty cool waterfalls are now more possible. It's not perfect, but it is much easier to work around than before. So, other than the water, is there anything else about the new editor that is better than it was before? Well, yes, actually, and thanks for asking. Another thing we can do with this new editor is use the terrain tools out in the bigger world map. This wasn't possible before, but now it is. And it also is magic. Be careful though, the tools are not as precise here as they are in the playable area, but they can be used to some degree. So if you do plan on editing the terrain here, then go for it. Okay, so we've covered new stuff for new maps. But what about the old maps? And this was one of my first questions. Is all this new water going to ruin my old maps? Am I going to have to fix them all? And the easy question to that is no. You don't have to touch them at all if you don't want to. Although the new game does not include all the old sources such as the border river source, it does still understand them all, no problems. If you decide to play on an old map, there will be no problems, everything will be fine. But I would still load them up in editor and change something though, at least a little bit, and here's why. Right, so this new expansion pack to the game does also include the new resource, fish, and if you want this resource to be added to the new map, then you will have to do one simple thing. So here's a map I made for the game some time ago, and down in the corner we can see the resources which until now are devoid of fish. But if we back out and then into the map editor, we can add our lovely fishes in one simple click of the button. And that button is the Save Map button. Simply save over your previous save and the new fish resource should be added. Then back out to the main menu and select a map, and we should see that the fish resource has been added to the map. 167 kilotons for this map. That will do nicely, thank you very much. Now, note here that there is a minimum depth for having fish added to your map, and this is 15 meters. Anything below 15 meters will not have fish automatically added. Now note that at this point, the only thing I've done to this map is I have added fish. I did not change anything else about this map when I entered the map editor. So it is possible to add fish to a map without screwing with the new water if you don't want to. But if you do want to, then that's simple too. Warning though, this is undoable. This is the point of no return. After doing this, there's no going back. Unless of course you don't save, then I suppose you can go back and load the old save. But other than that, there's definitely no going back. Unless you don't save. But if you do save, then that's it. Bye-bye to the old sources. When you do load up an older map in the editor, the water menu will look the same as before, except for one very important button, right at the very top, the one that says Convert to New Water Sources. Click that if it makes you happy, and instantly the water sources will be updated from old to new. That bright green sea border source is gone, so all is well. Maybe. Be careful when doing this, because it isn't just a matter of clicking to convert and walking away. A lot of the time, the source's height may be changed, so now you're going to have a river either overflow and flood or dry up because now the water is reduced. Such as right here, a perfect example. At the edge of this map, we once had river border sources, and the new converted to constant height source has raised up way too high and is overflowing. You'll have to go around each source in your map and make sure things are okay, many of which will not. So be careful that if you do click that Convert Water Sources button, then you will also likely have to redo all this water stuff, which may or may not be a pain in the backside you can be bothered fixing today. So with the updates, everything's great, right? All fine and dandy? No problem? No problem. Well, no, actually. There are a couple of issues. Firstly, with the new water, when you are in the map editor, you find that the water now clips out and disappears really easily when at certain zooms or certain levels. It's not a big problem. I find it usually goes away simply by reloading the game, and it's never so bad in the game, so nothing to worry about. There is, however, a slightly bigger bug. I've encountered it while making my own maps with the new editor, and it's quite a massive pain in the hole in my behind. And that is this: sometimes when making a new map, it may go completely mad and just refuse to add the fish resource to your map. Look here. 6 new maps I've been working on this last 3 months, and 4 of them do not have the fish resource added. This could be pretty game-breaking for some people, as very obviously people will want to download and play on maps that come with the new features like fish, and if your map won't add fish, then what to do? Well, lucky you have me, because I have some people I can talk to, and they have a direct line to the people who have the emails of the people who know what to do, so it's all good. And it does seem that this bug is mostly a visual problem and not a map-breaking problem. It turns out that the fish actually are there, it's just that they are being a wee bit scared because they are fish. And that's what fish do, just swim around having panic attacks all day long whilst trying to hide. If you are unlucky enough to come across this new feature while making maps, do not worry. If you go ahead and load the map anyway, then when you're in, you go and click up the top left corner and then down into natural resources. Then you will see this lovely light blue color, and this is the marker denoting the fish resource. This is a good sign. However, if you look at the resources panel information, it still has 0 wee fishes available. Absolutely no fish. But do not you worry your wee cotton socks, because we will find that if I just simply start building on this map. Buildy, buildy, buildy. Building things all over the place like a proper little city builder. Then suddenly, fish will appear out of nowhere. They come out of their hiding, probably because you are special and they are impressed with your elite skills. Click back into the resource menu, and magic has happened. Now we have over 3 kilotons of fish, with a replenishment rate of 286 tons per month. All good. So, as you can see, if you are unlucky enough to encounter the fish bug, all is not over, your map is still playable. I will say, though, that I've encountered various success with this. You will get wildly different quantities of fish suddenly appearing, and often on the same map. Some weeks ago, I used this same map to test this fix, and was awarded with over 15 kilotons of fish. And then, just a few moments ago, I tried again and got less than 1 kiloton. I didn't like that, so I reloaded, tried again, and now have this 3 kilotons. So if you are unhappy with your fish resources in-game on a map like this, then it may be worthwhile reloading to see if you can get more. Now, the most important question I have to ask is, have I forgotten anything? Because I think I have. You know how sometimes you just have that niggling feeling? I will now choose to ignore that feeling and hope it goes away, as is my right.